All right, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect that believe in His faith wholeheartedly and truthfully. This is just this is another Mark of the Beast lesson update on the different technologies pertaining to the Mark of the Beast, or the RFID chip or the microchip that is manifesting itself in the world today. The first thing I want to do is start off with a scripture from Daniel's the 12th chapter, starting at the 4th verse, or just the 4th verse. It says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end." So what was sealed was the words of the Most High, of these different prophecies. They were sealed in the book, which is the Bible. And it says, even to the time of the end. Right? Because the end times is what we're living in now. When you read the book of Habakkuk, it says, though it tarry, which means wait, you wait for it. You wait for these prophecies and the words of these prophecies to come to pass. Okay, it says, wait for it, and at the end it shall speak. So we're at the end now. We're at the time of the end now. And what's speaking is the prophecies that's written in the scriptures in the Bible. All right. So continuing on, it says, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. And that is has never been more evident than the times we're living in now, 2015. Okay. There has been more and more knowledge, mainly of the scriptures, starting with the apostles of Great Millstone, on down to the rest of his younger brethren. We've been pushing the knowledge of the scriptures at an increased rate. But not only that, that goes into knowledge of the world, different histories, and these different technologies. Okay? So it says, Daniel 12:4, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." So you have different understandings of different things and how they work today is being more and more increased. I mean, every year there's a different update to these computers, these so-called smartphones. The upgrading the different nuclear missile technology, different military technologies are being updated, and more and more people are plugging in the technology now, today, more than ever. Okay, so going back to the main point, which is the mark of the beast, there's an article that I want to bring out. That I want to bring out pertaining to here we go. This is from ibtimes.com, right? Dated September 26, 2015. It says U.S. poised to join rest of the world in adopting modern smart chip credit cards. And if you have gotten, if any of you brothers or sisters out there has gotten any new credit cards or debit cards this year, 2015, within the last couple of months, they all have chips in them. And that's including myself. These new debit cards, because like every couple of years, around every 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years, you have to apply for a new, or get a new, or they'll send you a new credit or debit card, mainly debit card, a couple months or a couple weeks before your debit card expires. So what they're doing now is, within these different credit cards and these debit cards, they're putting in these different smart chips on the front of the card. Okay? Right? So it says U.S. poised to join the rest of the world. So the rest of the world is already adopting and using these different technologies at their ATM terminals and in their banks to make things a little bit more easier as far as so-called security is concerned. All right. It says U.S. poised to join rest of the world in adopting modern. Excuse me. U.S. poised to join rest of the world in adopting modern smart chip credit cards, but many merchants don't have EMV scanners. All right. And in this image here, you can see that there is a credit or debit card, and there's clearly in the front a chip in the front with the arrow pointing outwardly to where you insert that card into a like an ATM, right? It says a customer holds a smart card, and that's a new buzzword within the last 5 or 6 years. Everything is smart. You got smartphones, you got smart televisions, you got smart cars, and now you got these smart credit cards. Okay, everything is supposed to be so-called smart, but that's that knowledge shall be increased. Different technologies, through their knowledge and wisdom of the so-called white man, is utilizing, which is all comes from the Most High, but he's now utilizing these things into these different cars and TVs and things to make everything an interconnected network. Okay, so it says a customer holds a smart card and a note at a bakery in the Egyptian city of Port Said, about 106 miles northeast of Cairo, February 24th, 2014. So this was a little over a year ago. All right. So in Egypt, they're already using these smart cards, these smart technologies. Okay, which this is just another step to using the or to pushing the implantable RFID microchip. It says similar smart cards have been and will be mailed to American consumers, and they already have. It says the U.S. is finally joining the modern world of credit and debit card security. American consumers have been mailed new cards like those millions of their peers around the world have had as long ago as the 1990s. Wow. Okay. So this has been a slow but steady pace to adopting these chip technologies, okay, which is the perfect avenue for people to take the mark of the beast, or the microchip, when it's implemented and it's mandatory. It says so-called smart cards with embedded chips that have been proven to cut down on fraud everywhere they've been introduced. With the new standard becoming It says with the new standard becoming effective Thursday, that will shift liability for card fraud to merchants that don't upgrade to the new system. Americans soon will begin to see more of their fellow customers dipping their cards instead of swiping them in checkout lines. It says in countries that have moved to chip technology, 2 years after the liability shift date, they see their counterfeit go down 60-70% or more. Stephanie Erickson, head of authentication product integration for Visa Inc., the world's largest payment processor, told NBC News. And that's also leading into the market to be, because Visa has a big stake in this implantable microchip technology. All right. It says the new cards are embedded with chips that employ so-called Europay, MasterCard, and Visa EMV technology. Widely deployed in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, EMV-enabled cards use a process called tokenization, which creates a unique code for each transaction, as opposed to the process centered on one code embedded in the magnetic strip of a card, familiar to most Americans, but that most Europeans ditched about 20 years ago. So, America's, they test these things out. The elites and these different think tanks, they test these things out overseas, and then they they test it out, and when they see how successful or not it is, and they work out all the kinks, that's when they're pushing on these Americans, okay? Because that's the main goal. Because the American society the is like the end game for locking down this new world order, you know. Because ultimately, Yahweh Shai Shai is going to use these different allies and enemies of America to destroy this so-called country. So it's like saving the best for last, but the whole world is going to be pushed to taking these new cars, and then eventually, and you didn't really have a say so on getting these cars. Now it's like a mandatory thing. So eventually, the microchip is going to be mandatory as well. I'm gonna scroll down and I'm gonna read a little bit more. Just to get the point. It says thieves can secretly scan a magnetic strip to make a physical copy of an old school credit card. With a chip embedded card, however, the transaction code data become obsolete after each purchase, and a new code or token is created for the next purchase. This new is the most common form of credit and debit card fraud. But the comparatively new purchasing process in the U.S. is slightly different from the old one, most notably by taking a few seconds longer. Instead of a buyer swiping a card with a magnetic strip through a reader, he or she would dip an EMV card and hold it in place for a few seconds so that a token can be created to facilitate the transaction. And people are going to get tired of waiting in line for these people dipping their cards, so the next thing is to go back to swiping. But instead of actually swiping a card or your phone, people are going to want to swipe their hands, okay? So that was that article, right? So moving on with this new technology, right? Let's see. Here we go right here. This is from the daily.com. It says the Daily Dot. Okay, it says a surprising number of adults are open to brain chip implants. Okay, so let's go into this a little bit. Matter of fact, before I do get this article, so lock here. This is what I wanted. Okay, excuse me. This is from CBS Money Watch. It says 5 things to know about new chip-enabled credit cards. Okay. I'm just going to get a little bit of this article, because the main thing is that they're making this mandatory for business owners to get these readers, so they can hurry up and switch people over to this new system. It says there's a chicken and egg problem with the Thursday deadline for consumers and retailers to switch to new chip-enabled credit cards. By the way, Slocky, but this is dated September 29th, 2015. Okay? So it says that there's a deadline. So this is just more information on how they're planning to make this thing a mandatory thing for these chipped cards. It says because a majority of consumers still haven't received their new upgraded cards, many retailers aren't upgrading their credit card terminals to accept the new cards. The end result, much of America is going to blow the October 1st deadline for upgrading to the new cards. It says the new chip-enabled cards, which are also called EMV cards, short for Europay, MasterCard, and Visa, are being phased in because they're more secure than old-style magnetic strip cards, because retailers and card processors don't store the card data in their systems. it's a system that has proved to be effective, right? So this is their thing, to push these different business owners to get this new system, cut out the old system, or these magnetic strip cards, and use these chip cards because they want to phase it in, because this is another part of the agenda. It says it's a system that has proved to be effective. So it's worked overseas, okay? So they just want to bring it over here to America to make it a worldwide thing, okay? It says Europe marked a sharp decline in credit card fraud after the chip-enabled cards were introduced, okay? So it's been proved successful in Europe. I believe Asia's using the technology. The last article also mentioned the Middle East. So now it's just getting these Americans out here to take this or to use this new system. But of course they're working out the kinks. It says it's, you still got fraud issues and things like that. But basically the point is to get these people to use this new system. I'm just going to read a little bit more. It says, is there a fine for missing the deadline? It says consumers won't face a fine if they don't have a new card by Thursday. For that matter, neither will retailers for failing to upgrade their systems to accept the new cards, although they're on the hook in another way. The deadline is what the credit card industry calls a liability shift, which means on October 1st, how liability falls between credit card issuers and retailers will shift. After Thursday, the liability for fraud will be placed on the party that hasn't upgraded the systems. So basically, they're saying it's your fault if your systems and your data gets hacked if you don't have the new credit card or EMV card system. It says, since fewer than 1/3 of business owners in July said they'd be ready with new checkout terminals by October 1st, and a Wells Fargo Gallup poll, chances are that thousands of retailers may be facing fraud liability starting on Thursday. So one thing that the elites can do to help push this agenda is have some kind of cyber attack on the different business. Like I believe Target had went through that. If not this year, maybe last year sometime, where their system was hacked and a lot of different people's information was put out there. Okay, along with this this other website hack that everybody's information, these different celebrities and people with money, they had their system hacked by this or through this or from this website. So there could be like an attack to get people to say, well, look, well, you know what? Since we are being hacked and we are facing fraud issues, we'll just go ahead and upgrade our system. Okay? So just be on the lookout for a lot of these different businesses facing fraud attacks and fraud hacks, because it's all an issue about getting them upgraded to this system. Okay? It says the top reason for skipping the upgrade, it says the top reason for skipping the upgrade, retailers don't think it will affect their business, a fair assumption given that so many Americans don't even have the new cards. So it says, how do I use a new card? Insert the end of the card with the chip into the bottom slot of the new point of sale terminals and leave it there for a few seconds to allow the machine to read the card, said Paige Hansen, Senior Manager of Education Programs at LifeLock, a provider of identity theft protection services. And those LifeLock commercials all over the television. So that's just another link to this chain. It says after October 1st, if you have an EMV card and try to swipe it, there is a notification that will populate on the cashier screen that says you have a chip-enabled card, she said. The machine will prompt you to retry the purchase by using the EMV card reader. All right, so that's been made a point. I had another article up. I'll probably just read the headline and I'll just leave the links. But this is dealing with brain chips, right? This is from the daily.com. See, this thing is moving. So this chip technology, whether it's implantable, whether these credit cards or debit cards, these brain implants, these military implants, things are moving as far as technology and knowledge is concerned and pushing the mark of the beast. So it says a surprising number of adults are open to brain chip implants. I'll just read this first little paragraph up here, or these first two, dated September 23rd, 2015. If you could implant a microchip in your head to get continuous access to the internet and all things digital, would you? 1 in 4 Americans would, according to new data from communications and strategy firm Verge, right? Which is short for converging, and converging what? Converging everybody over to these microchips, this microchip technology. It says, it seems like an idea straight out of science fiction that usually completely backfires, and while there's certainly no brain implant that can control internet access available to the public today, the possibility does underscore our complete dependence on wireless technology and how addicted people are to staying connected to the world at all times. Okay, I'll leave a link to this article. Other brothers, if y'all want to, y'all can go into this article and get the meat out of this. There's one more, because that was the brain implants. Then you got the credit card and debit card technologies being pushed out there. But I found this interesting as well from TechInsider.io, right? It says, I just got a computer chip implanted in my hand, and the rest of the world won't be far behind. September 21st, 2015. Okay. From Zoltan Isvan. It says, the 1960s were about peace, love, and drugs. I believe the next decade would be about virtual reality, implants, and transhumanism. It says, even though I was born after the 1960s, I've always been fascinated with that era. Some people credit Ken Kesey's cross-country bus trip as helping to spawn a generation of hippies. My immortality bus trip, a cross-country bus journey to spread the word about my transhumanist party campaign for the 2016 U.S. presidency. See, this whole thing, man, just on the side note, as far as this 2016 election and the presidency, is becoming a really big circus, man, a sideshow, okay? So now you got this transhumanist party and all of that, and you got this guy, he wants to push people to become a transhumanist and get microchips, okay? It says a cross-country bus journey to spread the word about my transhumanist party campaign. See, they're pushing this on every avenue. This 2016 presidential election, which is a damn joke, along with Trump and Hillary and all this madness. The previous articles are brought out about the credit cards and, the brain chips and all of that. They're subtly, okay, and subconsciously pushing this microchip into the people's brains. So when the time comes, a lot of people will voluntarily take it, but then it's going to become mandatory too. All right? And that's when the shit's going to hit the fan. But I'm going to finish reading this. It says a cross-country bus journey to spread the word about my transhumanist party campaign for the 2016 U.S. presidency, along with the need for a pro-science and longevity culture, aims to stir up the national consciousness as well. My goal is to usher in a cultural shift to transhumanism, the idea that human capacity can be enhanced by technology. To start, I got a chip implanted in my hand. Because the first stop of our bus tour was at a biohacker event. So you can't, here at Great Millstone, starting with the apostles until the rest of us, we can't make this stuff up, man. This isn't a hoax. This isn't a wrong interpretation of scripture. This is the truth, man. The mark of the beast is the microchip, and it's going to become mandatory. It says, okay? It says, because the first stop of the bus tour was at a biohacker event in Tehachapi, California, called Grindfest. A lot of us had chipping and implants on our minds. The founder of Grindfest, biohacker Jeffrey Tibbetts, gave implants to journalist Dylan Matthews and myself, specifically glass encased radio frequency identification RFID NFC chips, which can store information such as your financial information, your medical information, your school records, okay, your criminal records, everything. It says, and unlock devices such as your car, the front door of your house, your office building, whatever, your computer, your cell phone. It says, among other things, okay? And there's a video here on YouTube, right, of this guy, Zoltan, gets chipped on the Immortality bus tour. So you can see this chip technology is becoming, it's soon to become a mainstay, man. All right, and it's manifesting itself more and more. But I'm going to end it here. I'm going to leave links. Brothers, feel free to take these different articles and do videos on them yourself as well to help push the word. It's out there, man. The mark of the beast is the RFID microchip. Pursuant to Revelation 13 and 16. And the consequence, Revelation 14, starting at 9. You will be tormented with these nuclear missiles if you take this chip. So don't take it, all right? With that, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect worldwide that believe in this truth wholeheartedly. And Lord willing, I'll see you on the next video. Shalom.